By the way, Casey, I'm not in the studio, so don't yell at me for no glorious today, all right?
No worries. It's a stone cold entrance. That's awesome.
He went stone cold. Although, you know, our Eagles guy who's on every single day at 4:05, he said, I can't believe you gave Joyner glorious. He believes it's the best wrestling entrance of all time.
I've been doing this show, what, now, nearly 10 years? I mean, hey, come on. I think that's deserve a little push there, you know?
RHIP, rank has its privileges.
Well, it's always glorious to talk to KC Joyner here on a Football Friday as we get ready for the NFL. Let's look at Eagles and Cowboys, KC, and 8-1 against 5-4. I want to start off by asking you about Dallas at 5-4, a mediocre record. Are they a mediocre team?
They're a formula team. We talk constantly about the Eagles and how they used to be a formula team, and now this year they're not. The Cowboys are a formula team. They have to have the formula working early in the season. It didn't work very well because they changed 2 starters in their offensive line, and their run blocking took a big step back while the team was gelling. Over the past 5 weeks, though, the run blocking is better than any team in the league, according to my good blocking rate metric. So I think they're getting to where they need to be formula-wise, but over the course of the whole season, no, they've been to a formula team, and it's cost them.
Casey, they're going to be losing Zeke, most likely Tyron Smith. Is that a big advantage? I mean, we saw last week what happened without Tyron Smith. They're obviously going to have to fix that a little bit, but is that a huge advantage for Philly right off the bat? Whoever lines up, most likely Brandon Graham, but they do move him up and down. Is that a big advantage that you're looking at as the difference in this game?
Yeah, the Dallas pass blocking, I've got a number of ways to grade pass blocking, but on a 1 to 100 scale, Dallas right now ranks there at the 33rd percentile. I got 33.1% in pass blocking. I gave them a D-plus passing grade is what it boils down to. And pass blocking grade, that's what they've done the last 5 weeks, and that's only including 1 game without Smith. They just have not been a good pass blocking team this year, and Philadelphia's pass rush ranks near the top of the league. I've got an A- pass rushing grade for them, a pass defense grade where how often they're hitting the quarterback, sacking the quarterback, getting pressure, a number of factors. So I have a feeling, this is going to be a big problem for Dallas. They need to lean on the running game and hope that they can do something there.
What about Dak against this defense? Do you like the matchup in the passing game, Dallas, or do you like the Philly pass defense? They're going to get Ronald Darby back.
Yeah, they're going to get Darby back for a defense that already was playing well. Thing is, Dallas over the past 5 weeks, since Week 6, they rank 19th in yards per attempt, 7.2 yards per attempt. The most incredible thing, though, is they rank 31st, actually tied for last, in percentage of passes that travel 20 or more yards downfield. This is a dink-and-dunk passing offense. They're not letting Dak throw deep, and with Tyron Smith being out, I have a feeling they're still not going to let him throw deep. So the Philadelphia secondary should know we're not going to have to cover too many things deep, and he's going to be throwing short. That's a real big limitation for Dallas.
You know, the one thing with Dallas is Dez Bryant. What do you see from Dez? Is this a shot fighter? You know, is he a guy out there that just isn't the same? Have those injuries caught up to him? Are they not using him right? Why is Dez not as productive for the Dallas Cowboys?
I think part of it is mentioned that they're going to a dink and dunk offense. I think they don't want to go, because the thing is the more they go vertical, the more they get away from their formula if they lean too heavily on vertical, because their formula is power run, throw vertical, and throw vertical, get the lead, power run to win the game is what they'd like to do. So you'd be utilized in that respect, but they're not a team that feels like, I think, that they have to get the ball to Dez. They have to throw 10, 12 targets his way. If they do, that's great. If they throw 7, they're fine with that too, given their formula. So I think he is a bit banged up when you start adding all those factors together. He's just not the same. He's not the same threat he was in past years, although he's still got the talent where you got to respect him.
KC Joyner, ESPN.com, NFL Insider here on a Friday as we look at Eagles and Cowboys a little deeper. If you look at Philly's offense, no Sean Lee, where do you like Philly to attack the Dallas defense?
I like the Philly in their run blocking very much. I like what they can do to attack this defense. Philadelphia grades out as a B+ in my run blocking grades. They are doing very well in the good blocking rate metric. And Dallas has a D- in rush defense. They're not stopping the run well from a good blocking rate perspective, from a good blocking productivity metric, yards before first defensive contact. They have subpar numbers all across the board there. And mentioning the blocking there, Philadelphia's pass blocking also has not been so good of late. The last 4 weeks, they rank pretty low in my pass blocking metrics. So I think it leans towards, even though Philadelphia would still like to go vertical and go after some of those coverage weaknesses for Dallas, I think that they need to lean on the run a lot in this game because it's a huge edge for them.
All right, if the game gets into a shootout type of form, Dak Prescott has a good game. They start throwing the ball around. How does Philly match up in terms of the passing game?
I think if they had to pass, they can still hit bigger passes because, again, we're talking Dallas doesn't pass the ball downfield very often. The Eagles over the past 5 weeks, they rank 6th in percentage of passes that throw in 20 or more yards downfield, and that's why they rank 6th in yards per attempt. So right now, if it goes to a full passing game, the way the Eagles have been playing of late, even though they have the pass blocking issue, so does Dallas, but Dallas doesn't have Philadelphia's pass rush. So Philadelphia is going to be able to rush the passer better, and their quarterback has been hitting vertical passes more often, in part because Witten doesn't catch vertical passes anymore. He's a total dink-and-dunk receiver. Cole Beasley's a dink-and-dunk receiver. You've got Terrence Williams. He's a good receiver, but he's limited. He's very hit or miss. He did nothing last week after having a great week the week before. So I think from Dallas's perspective, they need to do everything they can to avoid getting a shootout because that plays much more into Philadelphia's favor.
What do guys like Zach Ertz, a guy who's really had a great year, missed last game, wasn't listed on the Eagles injury report this week after missing the Denver game. How does he match up? Is this the kind of game where the tight end gets involved?
Well, Philadelphia offense tight end's always going to get involved, you would think. Right. Given how well he has played this year. Dallas has actually not covered tight ends very well this season. They have given up 44 receptions for 476 yards and 3 touchdowns. It's solid numbers, but it's not great. They've given up touchdowns in 2 consecutive games. Last 2 weeks against Kansas City and Atlanta, given up 15 receptions for 135 yards in those 2 touchdowns. And they've had other games where they've not done particularly well. So can they keep Ertz in check? Can they keep the tight end in check? Maybe, but it's definitely not an advantage for Dallas in any respect, and I think it could be a big advantage for Philadelphia.
Obviously, there's a lot of injuries. Dallas has got a lot of injuries, but Philly has persevered a ton of injuries here. If Dallas was healthy, do you like him in this matchup?
I actually don't, for one reason we have mentioned is Philadelphia's rush defense. I've got that good blocking rate metric. Philadelphia over the past 5 weeks has given up a good blocking rate of 27.6%. That's an incredibly good number. If you're below 35 in that, you're doing a fantastic job. It's 27.6%. They can go toe-to-toe. It's the worst matchup for Dallas's rushing game that they could possibly want, because if you can go toe-to-toe with their blockers and you can neutralize their running game, maybe don't shut it down, but if you can neutralize their rushing attack, man, that really makes them a one-dimensional team. So I think that's going to be a huge edge for Philadelphia. I think they can stand up to Dallas's rushing attack.
All right, the matchup that you like the most for either team in this one that really swings the advantage to the team you like?
Philadelphia's pass rush versus Dallas pass blocking. I just think that Philadelphia is going to be able to. You don't want to say they're going to get 8 sacks like Atlanta did last week, because there's no way Jason Garrett leaves his left tackle on an island. He's not going to do that again. But that means he's got to spend a lot of his time trying to shore up that side of the line, and it might mean that you can do things on the right-hand side of the line that they couldn't get done last week. So I think Philadelphia's got a lot of ways to attack that Dallas pass blocking, and I think it's the kind of thing where if they get a lead, and I think they will, Dallas is going to have to pass, and it goes downhill.
So it sounds like you like Philly in this one.
Yeah, by 10 points at least.
On the road, and 8-1 Philly against 5-4 Dallas. You can hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Don't forget the countdown to kickoff Sunday night starts at 6 o'clock, live from the Rusty Nail in Cape May. And those guys will have plenty more on this game. And obviously, the Merrill Reese and Mike Quick will have the call at 8:30. Let's dive into this week of games here, Casey, and kind of get your quips on each of these matchups. Got some good ones. Detroit going to Chicago. This is a game where Detroit really has to win to stay involved in any wild card race here. It seems like they keep playing teams that aren't that good, but they got to keep going on the road to do it. So they're going to have to win a division road game against a bad Bears team.
Yeah, bad Bears team. Bears, though, are playing very good in their secondary. I've got their strong safety and free safety both as red-rated players, which means they're a very tough matchup. So And Detroit has had nearly 77% of their offense comes through their passing game. It's one of the top 5 metrics in the league in that category. So they're a super pass-heavy team, and I think this is not a fair matchup for them. I think they'll win, but I think Chicago's going to keep this game a lot closer than people think.
Okay, I said the same thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago won the game. This is a game I'm interested in. Not because it's a great game, but I want to see if Jacksonville takes care of business on the road. They get to 7-3 with a win in this game. They should really pound Cleveland with that defense. I think this is the kind of game that Jacksonville needs to prove to people, hey, no one's mentioning us. This is the kind of game, even against Cleveland, if they can win it handily, you might have to start looking at them differently.
You'd think, but the problem is that Cleveland's weaknesses in defense are in the pass defense, and Jacksonville doesn't want to throw the football, and Cleveland's rush defense has been superb this year. They've had top 5 metrics in good blocking rate allowed for most of the season, and Jacksonville may not have Fournette. He didn't practice today. So they may have to go Chris Ivory. They may have to go, they have to go to their other backs. And Cleveland, by the way, if you look at their run blocking, it's been top 5 the past few weeks. It's been really good. I've been really impressed by how they look on tape. And Jacksonville's rush defense has been really bad. So Jacksonville's going to have to win this game with a formula they don't normally like. So I think they win, but Cleveland's going to keep it close.
Okay, Baltimore kind of hanging in the wild card chase. That AFC has a couple more slots, but Green Bay, they're still hanging around with Brett Hundley. So at home, they won last week. Can they make it 2 in a row?
I think they can. I think they've got enough of a rushing attack. Their run blocking has been very good this year. And Baltimore's got a very opportunistic defense, where Green Bay's very good about not giving up opportunities like that. And if you don't give Baltimore opportunities on defense, I think they're very limited. So I think Green Bay wins that one.
All right, maybe the least intriguing game of the week, although if Miami can win, they stay in the wild card race out there. So Miami at home. This was the game that was supposed to be in week number 1. It's now being played this week against 2 teams that have way different stories to be told than they did 11 weeks ago.
Yeah, Miami's got some problems on offense. Their blocking has been pretty much bad all year long. They had a couple of game stretches where they did better, but their blocking has been really bad. But Tampa's just not the same offense without Winston under center. He's a vertical passer and is going to throw a ton of passes. Fitzpatrick's not as good throwing him, and he forces a lot of passes into coverage. So I think Miami is playing better between the relative term. I think they're playing better there, and I think they'll win because of that.
All right, KC Joyner breaking down the Week 11 matchups with us. ESPN.com NFL Insider here on the Sports Bash live at Gregory's in Summers Point. Don't forget to download the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. KC, we've got Washington going to New Orleans. Now, we keep trying to say we're taking New Orleans serious. That defense at home, this should tell us a lot. But Washington went on the road to Seattle and won. Then they come home and lose. I don't know what Washington team you get this week.
Well, New Orleans last week, that game that they had, running the ball so well with Kamara and Ingram just both putting up 100 yards, they were facing a Buffalo defense that coming into that game had ranked 3rd in good blocking rate allowed over the past 5 weeks. So they made what was a solid rush defense look abysmal, and I think they're just going to destroy Oakland. New Orleans has the best offensive line in football right now. It's better than Dallas. It's better than Pittsburgh. I mean, they're that good, and it allows them to do what they want to do on the ground. And again, if they have to throw it, they still have Drew Brees. So when they've got that many weapons, I think they win that game handily.
Kansas City going to New York, and we know Andy Reid off the bye. New York got all sorts of issues. This one could be the most lopsided game of the week.
Yeah, I hope Kansas City doesn't play down to their competition level, but given where they are record-wise and how important, but they have to keep winning to stay in the race, I don't think that'll happen. And New York looks, again, you look at Janoris Jenkins whipping on tackles and things. They're a team that's just going through the motions. I think Kansas City wins that handily.
KC Joyner's with us, looking at the games. Arizona and Houston, both these teams pretty much out of it, but I guess Houston, I don't know if they're trying to figure out anything about Tom Savage at this point, but it's a shame what happened to them because they were a very entertaining team.
Yeah, they could have been. It's been an entertaining season with a lot of new blood teams going up the ranks and things like the Rams and such, and the Saints coming back. And it would have been great to see Houston stay in there. They're still getting production out of DeAndre Hopkins. He's still putting up big numbers. The run blocking hasn't been that good. But the problem for Houston, though, is that Arizona's run defense has been solid, and Arizona can rush the passer. And Houston may have the worst pass blocking in the league. So I think Arizona can pull off the upset here.
As people are coming up, it's quite humorous that KC people are walking up to us and acknowledging Pete Thompson's gorgeous duster.
My feeble attempt, KC. It's no shave November.
Have you heard that there's been multiple people who have now walked up to him and said, man, PT's duster looking really good. We'll have to take a picture and You can tweet it to him, the great duster of the PT. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
that I can
social
do.
media. He's in Orlando, and he can still see your duster.
That's
PT.
fine.
I got sidetracked by that a little bit. All right, Buffalo and L.A. taking on the Chargers here. Buffalo makes a quarterback change. What's the message there, number one? And number two, not a great matchup against a team that can rush the passer.
Message there is that I think they think that they had questions about Tyrod Taylor before coming into the season. They didn't know if he was going to be their guy anyway. I think this is the message to the team that if he's not going to do it, let's put it this way: the quarterback's not playing well, and he's not subject to be replaced. The rest of the team wonders, okay, well, is he not accountable? So I think this is a way of making him look accountable and things. The Buffalo rush defense, though. It did well in good blocking rate, but it looked terrible last week, and the Chargers have been blocking better. I have a feeling that they're going to maybe have their best blocking game of the season, and Buffalo going across the country. I think too many things going up against them. I got the Chargers winning that one.
I like that as well. Cincinnati and Denver. Denver's been embarrassed the last couple of weeks defensively. Is Cincinnati what the doctor ordered?
Cincinnati can't be what the doctor ordered because Cincinnati's offensive line is atrocious. They don't run block well. They don't pass block well. There's almost not a metric where you can say they rate well. In fact, every metric they rate very poorly, and some they're near bottom of the league. Problem for Denver is their pass blocking has been terrible, and Cincinnati can't rush the passer. So I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but if you're talking about Denver at home in a low-scoring game, I'll take the Broncos.
All right, then we've got New England going to Oakland. This game's in Mexico City. Hard to figure out the Raiders, KC. And New England, kind of, I don't want to say lying under the radar because they are the Patriots and everybody's kind of aware of them, but their defense has gotten better.
The defense has gotten better. They were an F earlier this year. They're at the level now for the last 5 weeks, and I think if I measured the metrics of the past 3 weeks, they'd be even better than that. So, and Oakland's defense, I've got them. I've got the red, yellow, green rating system for players and for coverage players in defense. They've got both their safeties are green rated in coverage, and one of their cornerbacks is green rated. So, I think New England's going to throw the ball a ton, and I think Oakland's going to try to keep up. But I just don't think they've got the firepower. I think New England wins that.
All right, and then the Monday night game, very interesting because Atlanta played well last week after they've kind of been iffy all season long. Seattle coming off the Thursday nighter. They're a team that has some injury issues right now. So you got Atlanta going to Seattle. If Atlanta can win this game on the road, they kind of flip-flop places with Seattle in the wild card standing. So this is a very interesting matchup.
It is, and it's one of the tougher ones to grade because now Sherman's out for the year, so it changes the dynamic of the Seattle defense. Jeremy Lane's nowhere near as good. The rest of and plus Chancellor's been banged up, so that's just not the Legion of Boom right now. And Seattle's run blocking is terrible, and their pass blocking hasn't been so good, but Wilson and Baldwin are still producing big numbers. Jimmy Graham's one of the best set-ins in the league right now. When you're starting to add all the factors in, if Atlanta had a better offensive coordinator, because they're probably going to be missing Devontae Freeman too, and they've got Coleman, and I like Coleman, but it kind of limits what their team does when they don't have that 1-2 punch. They just start adding factors again, saying so a few more factors going in Seattle's favor. So I think they're going to win, but I think it's one of those toss-up games.
All right, real quick before we let you roll here on this Friday edition, and don't forget, Casey's back on Monday at 5 o'clock to break down the schedule and results of all the games, including the Eagles and Cowboys. Last night, what we learned with Pittsburgh finally looking like a team that is a Super Bowl contender with the offense and the defense. Their defense has been pretty good this year, under the radar good, but they put up 40 last night and is a 6-3, now 6-4 Tennessee team. Just a mediocre team. Did we find that out last night?
I think there aren't many teams that could go to Pittsburgh and win the way that Pittsburgh played last night. Pittsburgh didn't even play particularly well in the first half. Ben is not that great on vertical passes at times, but they've got enough talent where they can overcome that and wait for him to hit his stride. The pass blocking's good. Run blocking's good. Special teams are really good. Their run defense is really good. They've got the deepest secondary in the league, and Hayden will be back in a few weeks. And you saw what Cody Sensible did last night, had a pick and nearly had two. I think that they're the deepest team in the league, and as long as Roethlisberger doesn't keep regressing or keep playing like he did in the first half, that's the Super Bowl favorite right now in the AFC.
All right, I like how you throw that caveat in the AFC in there. Those NFC playoffs, Casey, right now, the 6 teams in the NFC, there's not one that I would be happy to be matched up with.
No, in Philadelphia, you've got a really deep class in the NFC. I still think Philadelphia is the number 1 team. I still think the Rams are the second best team in the conference right now. I think they're playing that well. Their offensive line is fantastic. Goff is showing why he was picked where he was in the draft. You've got Watkins isn't being utilized that much. I mean, that's the second best team in the league. If I'm Philadelphia, that'd be the team that's scaring the most out of the whole tournament. But Philadelphia right now is the most complete team in the NFL, not just the NFC.
If you could draft again, are you going Wentz or Goff, number one?
You probably can't go wrong given how well they're both playing. I probably still go Wentz because I can't get what happened with Goff last year out of my mind. He played, it's amazing the turnaround that he's had, but I still can't get out of how badly he played. So I know what his floor is, and it's not good.
All right, KC Joyner, I'd be remiss not to get your comments on the 30 for 30 from a couple of weeks ago with a Ric Flair. I know you have a lot of insight and some insider stuff that you wanted to share with our listeners about that 30 for 30. They got so much attention.
Yeah, the nutshell of it is that when you look at the 30 for 30, the ending, it looks like what's the ending of Flair's story going to be? So the story of his life. And right now it's living vicariously through his daughter. But I was over at the NXT Center down here in Florida, at the WWE's training center. I was down there last year and got to spend a day down there and talking to a lot of the wrestlers. And unprompted, a number of them, probably 6, 7, 8 of them, mentioned how much Dusty Rhodes helped them in their career, how much he helped them with their promos, how much he helped them to figure out what their character was. And as I'm watching that Flair thing last year, the 30 for 30, so I'm watching that, I'm thinking, boy, that'd be a great thing for Ric Flair to end his career. I wanted to live vicariously to your daughter is great, but to have him go down there and help those guys and have them say the same things about him, because Dusty's knowledge got passed along, and they're going to be telling Dusty stories for another 40 years. I'd love to see Flair be able to come out here and do the same thing.
Yeah, I know that was one of the more watched 30 for 30s. So if you haven't got a chance to see it, they re-air it a lot. Check it out. It was a really very good inside look at a guy who has been entertaining people for, 40, 50 years almost, it seems like. KC Joyner, ESPN.com. Back on Monday at 5, recapping all the matchups here at KC Joyner TFS. And I would check that inbox over there. You might see a great duster in your timeline.
It's coming right now. We're working on it right now.
I will take a look and retweet, man.
Thanks, KC. Take care, pal.
Appreciate it, guys.